I have 13 pages of notes for this video, so get ready. Welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, you're here now. I think that's just gonna be the new tagline. If you've never been here before, well, you're here now. As if you're not self-aware enough to have figured that out on your own. Today, we are going to be looking at a creator I've never spoken about on this platform before, addressing drama with creators I have talked about on this platform before. We're talking about Jimmy Snow, aka Mr. Atheist, and the situation that went down last year between him and Rachel Oates, and a little bit with Gabbie Hanna as well. So if you're tired of my Gabbie Hanna content, this one isn't as Gabbie centric. So good news there. But we do need to talk about this video because I was there for this and I feel a lot of things. Like I said, I have 13 pages of notes. That's a lot of notes for someone who graduated high school 17 years ago. That's disturbing.
Holy shit.
I was around for this situation as it unfolded, watched it all happen, was trying to get Jimmy, who I didn't even know was a creator at the time. I'd never heard of him before, and honestly I sort of forgot he existed since. There was a lot, okay? I was there and I was blocked and several of my friends were told to go fuck themselves. So, you know, there was a lot that happened with this situation and we're gonna get into it all. We're gonna watch this video. It's called Gabbie Hanna, Rachel Oates, and Me. I think this is very important to watch and to talk about because I feel like this was released at a time when not only people are going after Gabbie Hanna, but people are also going after Rachel Oates, and people are sort of rehashing this situation, and if you weren't there for it, he's going to explain it for you really badly, and I'll do my best to translate. I added it up and there were 8 mid-roll ads when I watched this the first time. So dude's getting his coin for sure. Let's dive right in, shall we?
But first, an ad.
Hi there, I am Jimmy Snow, host of The Sometimes Show, used to be the host of Dear Mr. Atheist. I guess I still am. That is a segment on the thing. Past friend of Rachel Oates. Wouldn't call her an enemy now or anything like that. I still am fond of Rachel in a lot of ways. But I am involved in a debacle between herself and Gabbie Hanna regarding reviews of poetry that Rachel has done and the ways in which Gabbie has responded to those reviews. To some degree, I mean, there is a range of what I have been accused of, from being a drive-by concerned friend all the way to actually this is all of my fault. I would like to start with this. For a couple of reasons, I resent that I'm here addressing this.
Aww.
Angry so I can get past it and get past to my pleasant self. As most people know who watch my channel, I really don't like being angry. It's an emotion that I don't enjoy.
Anger is a normal part of life. It's okay to be angry. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not okay to be angry. It's okay to be angry. It's just as a legitimate feeling as being happy. The more you know.
Pork chop sandwiches.
It affects the rest of my life in very negative ways. Part of that's my upbringing, honestly. Like when I left my family's home, I found out, wow, I hate yelling and I hate being yelled at, and anger and all that stuff. The few reasons why I resent this. First of all, the reason why I'm addressing it is now because of misinformation that is out there about my involvement. The channel's suffering, and this is my job, and I have employees, and it matters to me. And so, yeah, a lot of my motivation to answer is because of how it is affecting my life and the lives of the people who work for me.
While I admire his honesty, I feel like He's a real good friend. That was sarcasm.
That said, I am only going to tell the truth. And the good news is whether or not you believe me when I say that, I'm bringing receipts for the whole thing. The other reason why I resent this is this might make Rachel look bad.
Good. Good.
Honestly, I actually resent that might happen. Because even though while I feel hurt by her once again saying I said things I didn't say, misrepresenting things I didn't say, I think she might still think she's telling the truth.
So, are we just straight up calling her delusional? Or...
So when we talk about lies and things being wrong, lying is something done with intention, and I don't know that she is doing that, though some of the things she says gets close enough to like the exact opposite was true, that some of it feels bad because it's like it feels like you're doing this on purpose. And because we used to be close friends, much closer friends than Gabbie and I, Rachel and I were very close. We were, I think, a part of each other's support system. She came to me when bad things were happening with relationships. I came to her for the same thing. At times, our friendship did a lot of things. And I think that we were as close as I really become, honestly, with friends, which is what makes part of this weird. And I don't resent her so much that I want this to be I'm exposing you as a liar video. The thing is that basically this interview she gave, at least the parts about me are border misrepresented, or not bordering. It's like, what's the line between you're misrepresenting to you are lying? There is the point is the things aren't true. And again, I'm going to be showing you all of that. So I guess as I say, I resent that this because it might make Rachel look bad. I guess I would just say I hate YouTube drama, and this is YouTube drama. The things that are serious about this, like mental health and mental illness and stuff, none of that is being solved by what people are doing with this. It is only making things worse. And so what we are addressing today is that, and I don't want to be part of it. I've tried to avoid it as things started ramping up. I don't even know all the things that have been said about me.
You don't? Okay.
So I've only looked at a few things. We'll be talking about that a little bit. I don't want anyone to be going on my behalf to say, how dare you lie about Jimmy?
No problem. I appreciate that disclaimer, but really, not going to be an issue.
But I will say this, not toward Rachel, toward the big thing that I resent here is that so many people have left these comments demanding I answer for it, demanding I apologize, and have even had comments who have like, Jimmy, you needed to hear Rachel's side of the story and apologize. And you know what? None of those comments have in here. All of these comments attacking me, telling other commenters they should unsubscribe, and just saying hateful things about me. None of the people driving it have once gone, Jimmy, what's your side of the story?
I did last year, and he gave it to me.
I probably would have addressed this sooner if that was the motivation, but it hasn't been. It's all been hateful comments and all just saying, Jimmy, you did this.
If I didn't already know the story and like want just to see what his explanation was for all of this shit, I would have clicked off by now. Is this what my intros feel like? Is this when I have like a million disclaimers? Is that what this feels like? I'm sorry. I need to find a snappier way to do disclaimers at the beginning of my videos because this is literally 5 minutes in and we haven't gotten to anything. I need to amend the way I do things.
And there's going to be no accountability for any of that, by the way. The only people who are actually held accountable in this relationship, I talked about this earlier this week on the Trisha Paytas Ethan Klein thing. The only people who will be held accountable for the misinformation that was spread, or people held accountable for still 2 lies said about them, are the public figures involved. None of the audience who have done bad things here, no people involved in that, will there be any accountability for.
There never is. Welcome to the internet, bud. You never gotten a rude comment before?
Okay. So yeah, it's literally only accusations. No one going, Jimmy, what's your side of this? This sounds bad. What's your side? There's a lot of people who say, I am so surprised you did this. Not, I'm so surprised they're saying you did this. So what's your side of it? And the reason why you are so surprised is because I didn't do it.
A mid-roll ad is coming, which is fine. Because I want to say that, like, I don't think that your audience needs to say, Jimmy, tell us your side. If you're seeing various people giving misinformation or like misinformed about what happened in a situation, wouldn't that just be an opportune time to be like, hey, I just want to squash this right quick. This isn't how this happened. Why wait a year? Because you came out looking bad and everybody then forgot. And then when Rachel's name got brought up again because of your friend Gabbie, people remembered what happened last year and then started giving you shit about it? Is that why? It feels like that's why.
Because it isn't true. It is the way it is represented simply isn't what happened. It's not reality. Let me look at my notes here because I did try to stay a little bit organized. I guess let me start off by telling you my relationship with the two people. Yes, it is true. The controversy. Gabbie, Hanna, and I are friends.
Wow.
Rachel Oates and I were much closer friends than Gabbie and I ever were.
Gabbie, Hanna, driving apart friendship since probably forever.
Gabbie and I are friends because Gabbie was attracted to the same content a lot of you were attracted to. She liked a lot of my pushing back against the patriarchy and religious fundamentalism and these harmful things that come from religion. She liked that, reached out, said she loves it. And basically our friendship had become entirely related to that. I do not agree with everything Gabbie has ever done, and Gabbie doesn't agree with everything of me. We have had heated fights before, in fact, about specific things we disagree about. We don't do them on the internet. We just did them together. And then actually the one that I remember getting the most heated, the end of the conversation was still us laughing and not going, oh my God, we got to go do our exposed videos. Rachel and I were much closer friends, or at least I perceived it. I could be totally wrong, but I don't think I am because I know a lot about Rachel. In fact, the funny thing here is if either Rachel or I really wanted to hurt each other, we know way more about each other. And if either of us were driven by the desire to hurt each other, we could do that. This is not a veiled threat, by the way. That's not who I am, and I just never would do that. I think that would be a scummy, scummy thing to do. But I'm just saying it's funny that this is the thing. That's the problem.
Yeah, it's really funny that Gabbie Hanna is the dividing factor between two friends who were clearly very close and had an intimate relationship. Not intimate, not sexually intimate, just an emotionally intimate relationship. It's pretty crazy that that's the hill that you choose to die on, is Gabbie Hanna.
Because we know plenty about each other. I've been part of her support system through breakups, through people who have treated her very badly. I have done the same in return, used her as a friend for free therapy, which is why what happened in the conversation she talks about was so surprising when all of this went down. And I was hurt. And honestly, by the end of it, it just got to a certain point where I was like, oh my God, this isn't the friendship I thought it was. So I'm just going to part from it and I am going to stop it. That said, I mean, whether or not I'd be open to a conversation now or something about it with her in private, I probably would. Again, this is not a video that's trying to make her look bad, despite the fact that it probably can't do anything but, because it is going to show that the things she said were untrue. But again, I don't know that she is lying as in having the intent of being dishonest. I think that she is probably still representing a reality that wasn't accurate from the onset.
So we're calling Rachel delusional. Okay.
Let me also address before I talk about the Rachel stuff. If Gabbie has said, so people have told me Gabbie has said these things about me on her story, that I had gone and approached Rachel and like called her a narcissist, or the people, I've seen different versions of the story of the things that Gabbie said, I said, but I can't find this stuff.
Oh, I can.
So we have a mutual friend who messaged her outside of me. I literally did not talk to him at all. He saw that she was doing, and he messaged her and he said, have some compassion. You've been the center of hate campaigns online. Leave this girl alone. Like, you're just bullying. And then she started a Twitter campaign trying to say that I manipulated her friend into defending me.
Wow, that was easy. It looks like Gabbie misrepresented you in that Instagram story. I'll wait with bated breath while you reach out to her privately to address that, to tell her to stop. Because the human on the other end, that Instagram tirade, it affects her and her actual Instagram that was taken down by Gabbie Hanna's stans. I'll wait while you address that with Gabbie. I'm sure we'll get to that part of the video.
People want to send it to me, that's fine. To me, what it sounds like is a person who is angry and saying a lot of angry things, and then just saying, I said the same stuff. To tell you the truth, I want it known that I didn't say those things, but people never really surprise me in the way they say things when they're angry.
Excuses for gabbie.com.
Somebody buy the domain and give it to Jimmy Snow, because he's going to fill that shit up real quick here.
I'm not saying it's okay. So basically what I'm saying here is if Gabbie said I said anything besides the messages I'm going to be sharing here in a moment, that isn't true. It's not true either. I had another thought on this. Did I write down a note for that? This thing isn't working. Okay, hang on. Yeah, basically, if she said I said anything besides that to Rachel, that like, hey, there is a human on the other end. So when you do this, it hurts people. It has the potential to hurt people. That is, and even that's a poor summary, because now people are going to pick apart what I just said and they're going to go, he just confessed. Yes, Rachel and I had a discussion. So this is what we're getting into. The current drama as it stands is that Gabbie has blown up at Rachel. And for the record, I don't agree with using sexist epithets like calling Rachel a bitch. I think that's a bad thing. And I think that I've had vocalized that to Gabbie the one time we talked about this a few weeks ago. But anyway, sexist epithets like bitch. And in general, to me, I see a person who broke down and kind of snapped and all of this criticism and it's sort of flown out. Doesn't excuse any of it.
Excuses for gabbie.com.
Even though you just said it's not an excuse, that's it. He literally just excused Gabbie. Even though he doesn't approve of it, he excused Gabbie calling Rachel, it's a bitch, because she snapped.
And that's when she snapped.
Okay.
There are things about it, things about her wanting to hit back against somebody that she believes has hurt her that don't bother me. Honestly, there are some of that in there, but then there are things about it that do. I think that there could have been a way to have a very healthy confrontation, and that hasn't happened. That said, as I've mentioned, I hate the YouTube drama stuff. And from the moment of seeing that it was coming back up, I have avoided it as much as possible. So despite the fact that as it was happening, people were telling me, hey, Gabbie's talking about you on her story. She doesn't name you, but she is. I didn't even go look at those things. That's how much I don't want to be a part of it. So I actually can't really comment much more on that.
Right, because God forbid you did an ounce of research and just like, I don't know, typed Gabbie Hanna Instagram into YouTube. For like 4 seconds. It would take me like 4 seconds to just have the information.
Except to say, I don't want anybody to be fighting. I don't want anyone to be angry. I do get where a lot of people's anger came from, and we should still seek to be better and have better conversations.
Wow, Mr. Atheist also is Mr. Pacifist.
On to why I'm making this video. The demands have gone up. The number of comments have gone up of people saying, Jimmy, it is time for you to apologize for this. How dare you? You did this. I can't believe you did this. And it was in response to let me see what the name of the channel was. An interview that Rachel Oates did with BWC2. I know nothing about this person. The fact that it's called 2 makes me think that maybe there is another one. I will tell you that his thumbnails clearly want to prime the audience. Okay, so there is a bigger BWC, and it stands for Black Wolf Company. Clearly, the thumbnails are to prime the audience. You know what going in, what side he's on. That's not actually something that I'm going to criticize, though. I do the same thing. Can you imagine if I was like, yeah, because I've ever made a thumbnail where Marjorie Taylor Greene just looks glorious. No, but that is true of this. But I know nothing about him. Could be a great guy, could be a terrible guy.
You know what sucks the most is that I would have really enjoyed this guy's content if he wasn't about to say all the things he's about to say. And if last year wasn't a thing.
Rachel gives an interview in which she gives a series of events. I'm going to be showing you parts of the interview, and then I'm going to be showing you our actual conversation as it happened on Facebook Messenger, live screen captured. The reason why I'm going to do this, and I don't think I'm violating any trust here, is one, screenshots had already made it to the internet, and two, and the funny thing is so Rachel says this during the interview. Just take a look.
Like, I'd seen her start interacting with him on Twitter, but didn't really think anything of it. But then he basically he sent me this message, and like all the screenshots and stuff are out there, like for people to go and see if they want.
So all the screenshots aren't there because at the time I only shared my own screenshots because I don't believe in doing that. However, I feel like this is an acknowledgement, and to tell you the truth, because she says things that are not in line with the actual conversation, that is my justification, because right now I am basically going to absolve myself.
Get to it.
And unfortunately, the shitty thing is even if that acknowledgement hadn't happened, I'd probably have to anyway, because one, I'm going to have all the proof and tell all the truth here, and it still won't matter.
You're absolutely right. It's not going to matter. So let's just get to it.
This is my Facebook conversation with Rachel. And this is how I started it. And do I regret sending this message? Yes, but not because I think I sent anything that was wrong to do, but because of the fallout, to tell you the truth. It's kind of like that. I'm sad there were consequences, but I feel the consequences are undeserved. Hi. So I have no expectations, but I thought you'd want to know, while I don't think Gabbie watches the videos themselves, I know the reactions people have to your videos about her poetry definitely hits her feelings. I'm not saying do or don't make the videos, but I thought you'd want to know that the human on the other side of it definitely experiences severe negativity because of it. She hasn't asked me to say this to you, by the way. She told me another one is coming, and it's obvious to me that she's messed up with anticipation. So let me explain a little bit of the context of what isn't in that message. When I say that she's messed up in anticipation, the reason wasn't because she was worried about another bad review. The actual thing I was reacting to, because when I sent this message, I believe it was already out or was about to be out, and I had no idea the review was out. The reason why I sent the message was I had seen the tweets and the things that were actually making Gabbie feel bad, because people were already attacking her prior to the review coming out, because there were, I think it was tweets and Instagram stories, and these were not constructive criticism. And I will stand by this all day long. It was things like, is it possible for Gabbie's poetry to make me physically ill?
Oh, you mean a joke? How dare she?
I'm not saying that Gabbie shouldn't be able to roll with the punches. In fact, Gabbie can roll with more punches than most people can, because she's one of the most hated people on the internet.
A white knight arrives on the scene where a fair maiden has poisoned the castle and then cried victim.
That's what narcissistic abuse is.
And by the way, I should tell you all, she's not even my most controversial friend. There is, I have political friends who are famous in the political YouTube sphere that you would all be shocked by. But as I've said, like in the case of the political friend, we should be friends with people we disagree with. We should be friends with unsavory characters for the idea that we might be able to change them.
Be friends with people so you can change them? That sounds normal.
I remember when Gabbie first was acknowledging she liked my content, people were telling her to stay away from me, like, stay away from him. You don't need to ruin him too. And I was literally sitting there going like, if you think she's so bad and you know what my content's about, shouldn't you root for my existence to make her better? Anyway, doesn't matter. But there's something I want to point out in here. So I was reacting not to the review itself, though I knew the review was coming. I had never, ever seen a single Rachel review or I have never in my adult life read a poetry book.
That's a mighty smug way to say I don't watch my friends' work, and I'm very disinterested in what my friends like.
I don't care about poetry. Gabbie Hanna, as a friend, sent me a poetry book, and I literally told her like, hey, well, I asked, did you send me a poetry book? She goes, yeah. Tell me what you think about it. And I was like, I feel so awkward because I feel like I need to tell you I will do that, but I'm not going to because I don't care about poetry. I'm not going to read this.
Okay.
I was reacting to these tweets that were not constructive criticism, that were nasty tweets to make.
And that's all well and good, but you didn't say that in your message. So how was Rachel supposed to infer that? That's my question. I have a lot of questions.
And if Rachel and I were talking about this in private, I would say those aren't useful. And unfortunately, the thing that I have seen, so this is one of the ones I don't have the receipts for because I think it was a story or a tweet or something that is gone. But I recall seeing her defense of using those kinds of comments as this is what you do to promote a video. That is not a good excuse.
So I assume then you'll be reaching out to Gabbie privately to address, you know, the way she talks about Jessie Smiles, Rachel Oates, Angelica Oles, Dom DeAngelis, Oscar Wilde, Hello Leash. Really, anybody she's dragged through the mud prior to a song or a book release or a series. I'll wait with that bated breath, just right here. Okay.
Don't hold that against Rachel because, again, I don't have the receipt for you to show, but that is my recollection, and I am committed to only telling the truth. So in here, I say, I'm not saying do or don't make the videos, but I thought you'd want to know that the human on the other side of it definitely experiences severe negativity because of it. Having seen her tweets, I had assumed her videos included things like, this is making me physically ill. Oh my God, this is like not actual constructive criticism, but basically that she would say the same types of things in her tweets, that her tweet persona and her YouTube persona wouldn't be different.
Well, you know what they say when you assume things. You're an idiot. How you can not watch your friend's content, assume what it's about, and then reach out to them and guilt them and passive-aggressively berate them for the way that they do things without giving any specifics is childish and confusing and manipulative and gross. Thanks. Also, like, how would he know that Gabbie was, like, sick with anticipation about all this unless she came to him with it?
I literally did not talk to him at all.
So Rachel says back to me, she sent me the book knowing I'd review it. I wasn't going to do a fake review, which I have no problem with her saying because at no point have I said do a fake review or don't review the book. The problem is at 5 minutes, 30 seconds, I think it is. I'm just going to keep playing. She said this.
He felt a little bit manipulated because he said that Gabbie had gone to him and was like really upset that I was going to be making another video about her book. And I was like, but she asked me to. Like, and I didn't understand it. And there was like a whole thing. And I think there was just like misunderstanding and miscommunication on like lots of sides.
So the thing is, that isn't what I said.
Yeah, because you didn't say anything. You left this incredibly vague message pointing a finger at Rachel for the way she criticizes art, but you're saying it's about tweets. But your message didn't say that it was about tweets. So again, how is Rachel to infer that you are referring to the way she tweets? Because, like a good friend, you had no idea that her video was out and you didn't watch it and you hadn't watched any of her prior videos, so you have no idea what she does on her channel. You ran with an assumption about how she criticizes art on her channel and then passive-aggressively berated and guilted her for it. By the way, just FYI, all criticism doesn't necessarily have to be constructive. And this is not I know we've talked about criticism in the realm of Gabbie Hanna things. This isn't Gabbie Hanna specific. Criticism doesn't have to be constructive to be criticism. If criticism is not constructive, it doesn't make it hate. You can be critical of something without giving suggestions on how it could be better. What Rachel Oates does on YouTube is constructive criticism. A good example of a critic who gave criticism that was not constructive but was still sharp-tongued and funny was Roger Ebert, who was a very much revered movie critic. He used to say things like this. Not very nice, is funny, and is honest. So I'm sorry that Gabbie got her feelings hurt by some catty tweets, I guess. But that's art, baby.
And I know people are like, yeah, but you could read into that. Rachel's known me longer than that. She didn't know I had autism back then, but people do know now. But she also knew me well enough to know I communicate directly. The words I say are all the words I need.
Yeah, but you left out the words about the way she conducted herself on Twitter in regards to Gabbie. You left out specifics, okay?
It wasn't that she was upset that she was making a review. It was that she was sick with anticipation. What was the exact phrase I used? Definitely experiences a severe negativity because of it. I know that the reactions people have to your videos about her poetry definitely hits her feelings, and that she's messed up in anticipation. And that's the most, that she's worried about that. Again, myself reacting to the tweets I've seen, because I didn't realize the review was already out.
But you didn't say that. You didn't say, hey, I saw these tweets and this is concerning. And this tweet, Gabbie was referring to this tweet and it hurt her feelings. It was so non-specific.
And as Rachel just mentioned, I'm trying to remember how she put it, but that there seemed to be miscommunications. The thing is that I've cleared up those miscommunications multiple times now, and she's still saying what she just said, which isn't actually true.
Yeah. Cleared up those miscommunications.
Anyway, Sheree, that's absolute crap. I'm not going to be guilted into changing my opinion, which no one has asked her to do. Can you imagine if other authors sent a reviewer a book and said, but you should only publish the review if it's positive? Also never happened.
It doesn't have to happen. Your message was open-ended and not specific.
If she doesn't want people critiquing her poetry, she should stop selling overpriced, awful poetry. Once again, so at this point, I still haven't seen any, to this day, I haven't seen her poetry reviews. I don't care about poetry.
We get it, dude. You don't care about poetry. That's fine.
And there's no real reason for me. However, I have now just seen another example of her using what just seems like overly negative language.
Oh, you mean like this?
That's how narcissistic and abusive this person is. Face yourself, bitch. She's not a fucking artist. I don't care about her fucking opinion because she has no accomplishments in art or has proven to me that she's actually intellectual enough to understand art. I accept my criticism from talented, smart people, not abusive, toxic, exploitative bullies. You're a fucking monster. You're a bitch. Where the real narcissism comes in is she says I'm talking about her for attention. Miss 4K views on your commentary piece a week ago? Yeah, I just checked. What is it, you manipulative, narcissistic bitch? You fucking weird ass bitch. You said everything I want to say unless she opens her fucking mouth and says something else. You're a manipulative bitch and I'm done dealing with it. You fucking sick, twisted bitch.
Or like the kind where she just says that the art that person produces isn't good.
It might be totally true. It might be completely right. However, that compared with the tweets that I've already seen, it seems to me like this picture in my head that was apparently wrong of what kind of review it would look like. It doesn't, at this point, nothing's telling me that picture in my head is wrong. And then she goes, she knows I review poetry, all poetry, not just hers. And she still sent me the book. She knew it was coming for months. And again, these are refutations of something no one has challenged.
Yeah, dude, seriously, sincerely. You can't look at your first message and say, wow, that's a little vague. I could see where she thought I was talking about her video. Really? Like, we're that oblivious? Oh, okay. Okay. By the way, you have challenged them. By laying a guilt trip on Rachel, whether that was intentional or not, you are challenging her into second guessing her honest, thoughtful, constructive review of Gabbie's poetry because Gabbie's feelings were hurt. It doesn't matter if you think this message was about tweets. It was incredibly vague. It was vague enough that when those screenshots became public, that's what everyone inferred. I like to see people react to Rachel like actually roasting people because the amount of like butthurt people because Rachel reviewed some fucking poetry is just nuts, or tweeted some tweets. Toughen up, Jesus Christ.
So I write, like I said, she didn't ask me to say something. I don't know why she sent it. Maybe she thought she'd improved. I don't know. And that was a genuine mystery to me. And I don't remember what Gabbie said when I asked her, because I think I said at some point, like, why did you send it?
Oh, okay, so we can only pull up one side screenshots, right? We're not going to talk about... Okay.
I want to say she did it as a show of good faith, that she was trying to do, like, but I don't remember exactly what it was. But I honestly was like, that was a stupid move to me. Like, I never thought that was a good move. Anyway, and this makes it sound like Gabbie and I talk all the time. We have talked twice since the beginning of the year. I went and looked
to see how many times that Gabbie and I have spoken this year, but I still couldn't find the screenshots of these conversations. Okay.
It's literally been twice in the last 6.5 months. Anyway, she writes, I write, just pass along what I observed. Then what happened is, I don't know if this is archived on Twitter, how easy it is to get to. I'm not worried about people going and seeing it, but you'll see in my message, I reference it. Rachel starts tweeting.
I want this to be known. I know he's going to acknowledge this at some point, but if you haven't watched this video yet and you weren't a part of this last year, I do want to make a note here that is a very important note. Rachel, at this point that he's about to get to, Rachel was incredibly inebriated, to the point where by the end of the night, her tweets barely made sense. Because again, I was there.
About our message. Our conversation doesn't continue. I say something, and instead of replying to me and talking to me, her friend, who not only has been her support system, I literally cared about this girl so much that I put my reputation on the line to go and attack this creator. I did this 4-part series, not attack the creator, that's the wrong thing, but this creator was being awful to her. And the creator themselves on some of the points wasn't entirely wrong about transphobia and things like that. And I ended up doing a series shutting that creator down for how hateful and horrible they were being in a lot of ways, but mostly focused on Rachel and my concern for Rachel. I don't think it would be too far to say that as a friend, I loved Rachel.
Well, it's a good thing you threw that relationship away for somebody you talk to 2 times a year.
I don't have that many friends too, so I don't know if that's going to come off as weird if she eventually watches this. If she's like, wow, I just didn't get that. But I really don't have that many friends. And she and I were closer than most people, which is going to make one of her replies kind of hurt me. It did kind of hurt to hear. But anyway, so she makes these tweets about it. And she says in these tweets, basically that Gabbie sent me to do this. And so I felt like I had to reply, despite the fact that, so Rachel says this in the interview.
I'm misunderstanding this, like what's happening? And then Jimmy was like, just decided to be like, this is me. I can't believe you're saying this. And I was like, okay.
So this is one of the parts that bugs me, because I feel like this misrepresentation is something she knows she's misrepresenting, or if she thought about it, she would. And this is one of those times where when I first watched it, I was like, you are lying right now, or at least being dishonest, because you're acting like I arbitrarily decided to identify that it was me. But the problem is that you were pushing a narrative, or a narrative had been created at the very least, that was false.
But that was the information she was given. She was given a vague descriptor of what you found inappropriate. And since she had just dropped her video, it was safe to assume that that's what you were referring to. It's not that Rachel lives in this alternate fucking reality. It's that you didn't specify what you were talking about. So Rachel had to assume what you were talking about.
You were, as I recall it, it was something along the lines of, getting this perfectly accurate doesn't matter that much, just that it wasn't exactly what I said. But you can go check the tweets.
I can't.
I'm not worried about that. But it was something along the lines of her saying that Gabbie had sent a mutual friend to do this and to try and stop the review and all, and something along those lines, which wasn't true.
To be fair to Jimmy, I really think that the implication that Gabbie sent him indirectly to tell Rachel to like chill out or whatever is more of a testament to her character, to Gabbie's character, than it is to Jimmy's character. Like, I don't think that that's a dig at Jimmy. I think it's a dig at Gabbie.
And so now one of my friends was going to Twitter, taking our private conversation that was happening in DMs, didn't come to me, wasn't responding to my message, and was using a version of the conversation that wasn't true to say something had happened that was now getting Gabbie new hate. That Gabbie was now getting, I can't believe you did this. So yes, the way she says it, it's so like, and so he just decided to, yeah, of course I did. It wasn't, I just decided to, I went, holy shit, one of my friends is attacking one of my other friends and saying it's because of things I said. And so yes, I identified myself and went, I have to identify myself because this isn't what happened. And by the way, it's just so frustrating because people who knew my relationship with Rachel in the past and what had happened with that other situation knew what a fierce friend I was. And to just whole cloth just go, wow, Jimmy, this seems so uncharacteristic of you, but we accept that it's true. If something seems really uncharacteristic of me, that should be your first suspicion that maybe things didn't happen the way it happened.
I feel like every serial killer has probably said the same thing. Not that I'm implying that Jimmy Snow is in any way a serial killer. It's just, that's a dumb argument.
Anyway, so I wrote back, she's a person who basically receives nonstop hatred all the time for a litany of things, many totally undeserved. Only many. There are some things that Gabbie's done that are really cringy, that are really shitty. I don't like everything Gabbie's done.
Well, which one? Where do we draw the line? At rape apologist? Scammer? Satellite?
Doesn't stop me from being friends with someone. Maybe she does deserve it for her poetry. As her friend, I do feel bad for how often she tries to show a brave face when she's actually completely or clearly shattered. This is actually what I think happened with, and if Gabbie watches this, for all I know, she's going to message me mad at me. Like, why didn't you talk about this stuff with me? A lot of people bring up this thing on Patreon that she was talking about, like, no, I'm trolling for the views or something. If that happened, because again, I don't know, I didn't see, it sounds to me like the kinds of things that I have seen her say, even in private, where I think she is trying to put a wall around her actual hurt.
Excuses for gabbie.com.
Where I think she catches like, I really did something that I don't like. So now because everybody already just thinks I am this awful trash person, I just have to embrace it and say that it was calculated and not just me having a bad, listen. This is the thing. There's going to be so many people in the comments that are like, at the end of the day, Jimmy, you're friends with Gabbie, and so you suck.
Yeah, I mean, the way you just described exactly what we've all described about Gabbie Hanna, yeah. Why would you want that as your friend? Why would you support someone who engages in that behavior? Actually, there's going to be no one in the comment section because you turn them off. Coward.
And I think 99% of those people, if they had a one-on-one conversation with Gabbie, would feel really bad for what Gabbie goes through.
You think?
She is the meanest, nastiest person I have ever spoken to in my entire life. And I liked this girl. And I defended her at times.
And really feel like the amount Gabbie gets, she doesn't deserve, even when she's in the wrong.
Okay.
So I wrote, maybe she does deserve it for her poetry. As her friend, I do feel bad for how often she tries to show a brave face, but it's clearly shattered. I'm sorry if this made you feel attacked or like I'm trying to convince you to pull a video down. This was my autistic brain, honestly, where I go, crap. This might have been my fault. Maybe I wasn't clear enough. And the problem was there was hours between, I believe, the first two messages, or I fell asleep right after. I just know it was hours at least before I saw. I'm giving you my best recollection and I'm only going to tell the truth. But also, if she felt attacked, I know Rachel to be, I'm sorry how this sounds, because I know this is sometimes used in a sexist way, but Rachel, I know to be a very sensitive person, which is actually why we were such good friends, because she was often sensitive to the same things that I want to emotionally work out. So it is actually a generally good thing, but I know also to be a sensitive, and I didn't want to be the person who had attacked her or even made her feel attacked, even though I hadn't. So then I did share my feelings, though. I do feel a bit betrayed by taking this to Twitter before we've had our conversation. When my friends are hurt, I have a tendency to want to do something for them, as you've seen yourself when you were hurt, which is totally true. There are people I am very close to. I would list them off, but I don't want to send a harassment thing after them. But people you've met me with on the internet, and when we are close, I mean, there are people who would describe the ferocity of my friendship. I am far more upset when people do things to my friends than things they do to me. Anyway, Gabbie didn't say any of this in reaction to your video, by the way. Our last convo was before yours came out. When I initially messaged you, I hadn't realized you'd released anything or released already. That might sound confusing. What I'm saying is Gabbie and my conversation did happen prior to the review coming out. But the message I sent, that first message I sent to Rachel, was sent apparently after the review came out, which I didn't know. That's what I hadn't realized you already released. I honestly thought I should tell you because I thought it was something you'd like to know, and because I believed our friendship would at least result in you wanting to hear me out. I'm very sad that this has become a Twitter thing and has been directed at Gabbie too, more for those who obsessively hate her to glob onto. Because that's what was happening. A narrative of what didn't happen was sending mobs after Gabbie.
I'd love to see the mob being sent for Gabbie because of Rachel Oates. Show it to me. I'd love to see it.
Again, none of this defending any other action Gabbie has taken, which I know people in the comments are going to try to do.
Yeah, and there's no comments.
Rachel replies, well, I feel incredibly manipulated right now, and I wanted to know if I am the one in the wrong or not. She sent me her book with the implication that she wanted me to review it, and then cried to one mutual friend about the prospect of me reviewing it. I have no sympathy for that. That message from Rachel seemed so cold and out of character that I'm not surprised that in this interview she revealed that there was a lot of other stuff going on in her life. Because to say Rachel has cried on YouTube.
I'm going to stop you right there, Jimmy. Saying so-and-so cried to my friend doesn't necessarily mean that this person is literally crying. It can just mean that they're complaining. Also, Gabbie sent Rachel the book to review. She wanted it in the hands of someone who knew what they were talking about. That is Rachel's job. Rachel has every right to be defensive.
Rachel has cried to me privately. Rachel is a person who cries in this interview, expresses when she is hurt and upset through crying. And I do not think I don't think she would accept from anybody them saying, whatever the thing is that made you cry, I have no sympathy for. And so it was bizarre to hear something like that when she has been someone that I thought so empathetic and kind in the past, and in tune to that kind of thing, I'm the kind of person when I'm in the right, if somehow that conversation still makes somebody cry, it still makes me feel horrible.
Okay, that's nice. But again, you can be an empathetic person and still be defensive. You can be an empathetic person and carry no sympathy for someone in particular. Empathy is not unconditional.
Now, I don't hold everybody to the same standard as me, but that's who I am. So this was surprising to me. And so then she also writes, did you know she reached out personally and sent me the book? And no, I didn't. But it doesn't really matter to what this conversation was supposed to be about.
It does matter because your initial message was that you were telling her that a direct result of her content was Gabbie receiving hate. So it does matter because Gabbie sent her the book.
And the fact that we should have been having an actual conversation over the phone or still in here one-on-one and not these pieces of it.
Again, I'd like to remind you, Rachel was incredibly inebriated. Not an excuse, but it is a reason.
So I don't remember what the proximity to this too is when she starts drunk tweeting, but did you even see any of my videos on her book? The answer is no.
Okay, so you don't know anything about what your friends do. You were so close and you don't know anything about what your friends do on the same platform. Because it's pretty bold. Not that you have to care about poetry, because Bud, we understand you don't like poetry. You've said it enough. But to have the audacity to come at someone to tell them that whatever portion of their content is causing pain and distress to someone else and not having any clue what their actual content is. What is that?
Again, not really relevant, though I guess there is a point in there where it's like, if the reviews themselves are mostly constructive and don't have the same little shitty quips that aren't constructive criticism, aren't cruel, if that is true and that's not, I don't know because I've never seen them, but yeah, I probably would have changed my approach.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you had actually watched her videos, Rachel is only constructive criticism, thorough constructive criticism. Yeah, she makes a few jokes here and there, a few quips here and there, but her videos are constructive, passionate criticism. If you had taken 2 seconds to maybe verify, just like 2 seconds, you and Rachel Oates would probably still be friends because this would not have gotten nearly as volatile as it did.
And maybe I wouldn't have even brought up the review itself, and I might have just said, hey, just so you know, you two are both my friends, and when I see you write that kind of tweet, it kind of makes me wonder what's going on, because this seems like just mean for the sake of mean. Anyway, I write, you've presumed an awful lot, though. I have no idea why the first letter isn't capitalized. Anyway, her crying to me is not something that happened. And this would have been relevant to the specific, the fact that she used the word crying. Gabbie has cried to me. I don't think about the poetry stuff, but it was above when she says she doesn't care about it. I have no sympathy for it. That was the thing that caught me off guard. But then she quotes me, she told me another one is coming and is messed up in anticipation, which again, it's one of those things that I just don't respond to points that don't matter to me.
But it does matter because either you talked to Gabbie about it or you didn't. And either way, it informed you going to Rachel and attempting to make her feel guilty about her content, even if you thought it was just about tweets.
Because it's like, okay, so right, I definitely didn't say she cried. Anyway, another video that she basically asked for. I'm done here. I don't want anything to do with her drama. I'll happily talk about the content of the book like I did in my video, but I want nothing to do with her as a person. If you can find one piece where my praise or critique was unfair, show it to me. If not, leave me alone because I'm just doing my job and what she wanted. So the problem here is that she says she's done. She's not going to do it anymore. But then she gets drunk and starts tweeting. That might be after this response of mine. Okay, well, you should know that she's probably the most hated person on YouTube, and she is my friend. And the instinct I was feeling was similar to the one I felt for you last year when you were being hurt, which is all true. Again, it has nothing, not even the content or what the thing is, literally just these are both my friends. And so just alerting somebody that this hurts someone felt like the right thing to do.
If you've seen Gabbie's rants about Rachel, which it sounds like you have, then I'm really looking forward to the part of this video where you've reached out to Gabbie to tell her that there's a human on the other side of that Instagram. Because surely that must be coming.
I wasn't trying to attack you and I didn't say you shouldn't do it. I thought the review was still coming and I guess I hoped it might affect the way you speak about her because I had already seen the tweets you had made that seemed to be priming people to be disgusted by her.
Now, if you had said that in the first message, probably wouldn't be where we are right now.
So that's me bringing up what I already told you.
No, that's not. That's you clarifying what you had told her and actually adding details that made sense and actually pointed out what you were trying to say instead of leaving it open for interpretation for Rachel to misunderstand.
I think at this point, though, I don't know what else I can comfortably say. I feel like I have more to say. But at the moment, feel very betrayed by you going to Twitter before me and don't know what I can consider safe. I literally thought about for a couple of days what to say in response to the tweets I had seen from you, and I understand the review already being out has messed that up, and I probably should have checked, but in the end, I was just trying to be a good friend to both of you because I know how much hate she receives, and I don't think you are a person who would want to know I said yes, an action, but it certainly means that an action you may be about to take could hurt somebody. All in all, I'm very disappointed and extremely sad. And again, all of that is true. And again, there are going to be people under this video who are like, don't care. We hate Gabbie and we think she deserves, we think Gabbie's in the wrong. We think Gabbie's bad. And Gabbie might be in the wrong.
Look, White Knight, we're not going to be able to say anything because them comments is off.
Gabbie might do bad things, but I still don't think that means as her friend, I wouldn't say, hey, this thing hurts her. And by the way, as other people's friends, if Gabbie is hurting them, I would absolutely, as their friend, do something too. The reason why I haven't with Rachel is because I believe our friendship ended and it was because of Rachel's actions.
Oh, okay. Well, your friendship ended, so then it's cool if Gabbie calls her a sick, twisted bitch, a monster, and a narcissistic abuser because you're no longer friends. Got it.
What you're about to see. Well, I'm disappointed and sad too. This is from Rachel. Did you miss all the time I publicly said over and over how excited I was to see if she had improved? Yes, of course I did. How I really believed that she'd learned. Yes, I missed that too. How I thought it was commendable for her to reach out to me for a review. Didn't see that either. Again, none of it matters to the original point. This is refuting something that is in a conversation that none of this would have changed, that I would say, just so you know, she's messed up in anticipation. And so maybe don't say as many not valid criticisms. It was, again, about the mean things like the making me physically ill stuff that was already sending new tweets and stuff Gabbie's way. And then I read it was genuine. And then I read it, I think she means this, and was genuinely disappointed by it and wanted to express that. Read the book, never mind. I literally posted a whole Instagram story about how conflicted I was about posting the video, but I'm going to be honest with my critique. I'm not going to pretend her work is any good when it's not. I'm not going to go easy on her poetry because she screwed some people over and some people are mad. Again, none of these are things I've asked her to do at any point in this conversation. You've seen the whole conversation so far. I'm not saying that people might not infer it, but it is an unreasonable inference. That is too big of a jump, and it's too big of a presumption that I'm adding a bunch of context and intention that I wouldn't have just said. And again, Rachel, as my friend, knew my communication style, and I believe would have known that.
But the thing is that was the conversation. If your issue was the tweets, you should have been upfront about the tweets specifically. This tweet where you said Gabbie's poetry makes you physically ill, I think that's inappropriate.
Anyway, and I'm not going to not review the book after she asked for it just because it wasn't positive. I also never even got close to inferring or to anything that you can infer that from.
But you made assumptions about her criticism that were incorrect, and your insistence in doing so made you look judgmental. And also, like you had been sent to make it all go away. That is what we all inferred without Rachel's help, except for the screenshots. I was there.
As for asking on Twitter, I'm not sorry. I didn't name you personally and was stressed. And unlike you, I don't have people around me I can go to and ask about this stuff. So I have to ask the only people who know what's happening and have seen the video. I'm about to be showing you a screenshot from me that's going to hurt to read out loud because it's not something I like sharing, just so you know, in response to that. But the unlike you thing emotionally hit me like a knife because I don't feel like more than a handful of people actually care about my well-being. I think I can count how many actually do on one hand. And now I'm getting into something that's kind of personal and has also been a thing recently been dealing with. So I'm going to just try and move on now and not cry on air.
So you're saying Rachel made a statement based on an assumption that was incorrect and it had an effect on someone? Wild, isn't it? These statements that Rachel is making are not in any way outrageous.
Anyway, she then writes, I'm done here. I'm not getting dragged into Gabbie's drama. She wanted a review. She got a review. I did my job. To me, she has communicated that nothing, at no point during this has she tried to understand what I actually tried to say or what I was trying to, because she has not once, everything she is saying I'm not going to do, I never asked her to.
So Rachel, inebriated, Rachel should have to sit down for a talking to about how much hate Gabbie Hanna gets. But you can make an assumption about her critique style, her tone, and entire job based on a couple of tweets? Okay.
In the end, this is what I wrote. I think I thought we were better friends, and maybe that's on me, but I really wish you'd had a convo with me. Your summary of what I said didn't feel accurate. It's not Gabbie's drama because she didn't ask me to say anything. This was about something between you and I feel let down that I wasn't able to expound on it. If you want to have a proper conversation about it later, we can. I said out, but I meant about. I'm honestly too utterly depressed to be useful right now. Also, I don't know what unlike you means. I have a tiny group of friends and family, and most of them I don't know if I can trust at all, which is unfortunately a really true thing in my life. One thing that's confusing me is I actually remember, so this isn't very important, but I'm about to show you the end of this. After the end of it, I block Rachel. Now, she does say that she blocked me at some point in this video, in this interview, which is weird because if she did, it was for a very brief moment because I definitely blocked her.
Yeah, because that matters.
And you can kind of tell that that happened because I was able to send messages.
But the funny thing about these messages is that you see those little check marks with a circle around it. Jimmy's going to point that out in a minute. You know what those circle with the check marks means? It means that the message was sent but not delivered. So.
After her last message. But maybe there was a brief period that at first when she said that, I was like, you liar, I blocked you. But I'm realizing there's probably a way in which she blocked me and then unblocked me shortly thereafter. And this happened and I just never noticed the block. Very, very well could happen. So I'm not ready to call her a liar for that. But what happens after these messages, and I think I already said it, but actually this is the one after it happens, is she starts to drunk tweet. And I assume those tweets are still out there too and can be checked. But we have this sort of back and forth where she's asking to Twitter, but directly to me, what I want of her. And she's identified she's drunk. And I'm saying things like, you're drunk. Listen, I'm already really good at arguing. Fully sober, I can be in the wrong and I'm going to beat 90% of people.
What a weird flex and at a really weird time. But also, I don't recall, and none of my friends recall, at any point publicly Jimmy saying to Rachel, "You're drunk. You need to get offline," or whatever the hell he just said. I don't remember it. If the screenshots do exist, I'll find them and put them here. If they don't, here's a picture of Martin Short.
In an argument. I'm just good at it. That's probably an exaggeration of people like, oh God, Jimmy's bragging about his arguing skills. I don't care if he's in the wrong. Now fuck him. But I'm already good at arguing. And I was basically saying like, I'm not going to take advantage of you and like try and like have a tweet smackdown here now. And so, but it was a lot of this, what do you want from me? And it was literally like, for my friend to have a one-on-one conversation with me, because at no point have you understood what I've been trying to say, or at least shown that you've understood. You've misrepresented everything I've said so far. So I just want to have that one-on-one. For the record, that's not me lying, because I realized that might be me. It might sound like I'm saying that's what the whole tweet was. That is certainly the context and the things I was trying to convey. I don't remember what the exact back and forth the tweets are. I don't know how to use Twitter well enough to find them because I think Rachel deleted her Twitter, but people tell me they still exist. Well, Rachel said they still exist in this interview. I don't know how to find them, but that was the gist of it, is I just really want this one-on-one, and you're super drunk right now and clearly upset. And I still am at that point trying to be a supportive friend. And I go to bed that night thinking like, I handled that really well. I was like, not well, but like gentlemanly, like. Oh
yeah, he was super gentlemanly when he told a bunch of my friends to fuck themselves and then blocked us all.
I was still angry and I could have acted angry, but I didn't. I was proud of myself for not acting the way I would have years ago before I had therapy and stuff and not being a jerk. And I remember like going like, this I hope finally, not even hope, this I believe will finally lead to us having the one-on-one conversation. But it didn't. Instead, I woke up to a new slew of tweets, not a response to me. After this message I had sent.
Just a reminder, sent, not delivered.
And again, and so the thing I was going to say that is weird to me is that you see these circled check marks like she didn't read them. The thing is that I know she did. So something happened when I blocked her, because I actually waited for her to see these last 2 messages before I blocked. As soon as I saw she had, that's when I blocked. Not that moment. I gave her time to read. So I wrote, wow, it's really cool how last night you were drunk and I said I want to take advantage of your altered state. And you asked what I wanted of you, and I said I wanted for the 2 of us to speak one-on-one. And now here we are. When you're sober, you're continuing to make a public spectacle of it and shit on me instead of coming and talking to me, which you should have done in the first place. I thought you were my friend. And then she's tweeted more. And we're talking like a few hours between these things. Yes, I got up around noon. That is the correct time. I assume she must have woken up. I was waiting for her to see it. And then I see another tweet pop up about me, not talking to me. And so that's when I said, cool, I give up, to quote you, I'm done, which she had said a couple of times in our conversation before.
Again, sent, not delivered. The message was sent and not delivered.
And listen, there's not in those last ones, I'm not going to say I'm proud of the tone of everything I said there. To quote you, I'm done. When I'm upset, unfortunately, I have the flair for the theatrical. It's stupid, frankly. And that's the actual conversation that happened, all of it. Obviously, there's more stuff that happened on Twitter, but as far as the stuff actually between us, that she still seems to be representing that I tried to guilt her into not releasing a review.
It still does look like you tried to guilt her into not releasing a review, okay? You adding this context is great and all, like, wonderful. We know that wasn't your intention, according to you. However, you have to acknowledge the fact that when you sent that first message, it looked open-ended. So for Rachel, because she released the video that day, she inferred that you were referring to her video. To not acknowledge that aspect of it is childish. This is another round of what are we doing here?
Which is a thing that you have to pull out and go, if I add all of this context and add all of these things and add the fact that, and take away the fact that they were friends and she would have understood what he meant when he was talking, if you take all of that away and you add all the things you need to add, it takes a lot of work.
No, it really doesn't, like, at all. All it takes is reading that first message. Like, literally, that's it. Okay?
The fact of the matter is, at no point did I say she shouldn't. In fact, I said the opposite. I'm trying not to go up too much. Let me see if I can find the top without accidentally showing the one before. Rachel and I also used to be quite a bit flirty, kind of silly friend flirty, joking about that we were going to be married one day, that kind of thing. And I'm just trying not to get to that. But the opposite thing I said in there was, I'm not saying do or don't make the video. But I thought you would want to know that the human on the other side of it definitely experiences severe negativity because of it. And I tried to explain what I actually meant by that further. And it seemed like, no, I've decided Gabbie has become the villain in my story and you've become her Igor.
First of all,
It's pronounced Igor.
it's not even about Gabbie Hanna. It's not about Gabbie Hanna being a villain. Replace Gabbie Hanna in this scenario with anyone. Replace her with fucking Rosie O'Donnell. The story holds the same water. You showed up on behalf of someone else, whether they asked you to or not, expressed that the direct result of Rachel's passion, job, criticism, garners hate and negativity for Rosie O'Donnell. She expressed this to you with great worry that a review was coming, and also want us to believe that in no way did Rosie O'Donnell plant that seed, and that sharing this would in no way be perceived as an attempt at a guilt trip, a retraction, or a prompt to pull the whole video. Is that really that far-fetched, Jimmy? Is it? For a guy who sure loves assumptions, he seems to find it really difficult to understand assumptions.
That I was at the center of this thing and this series of events that just didn't happen the way it's being proclaimed. So now, this is where it is. I'm having to address where so many minutes in, I'm having to address people accusing me of frankly doing something I didn't do. Though there are some people who are simply, literally people who have just left comments that like, wow, you're a piece of shit because you are friends with Gabbie Hanna. That kind of thing is down there. And again, I am friends with much worse than Gabbie Hanna. I do not believe in, I genuinely believe being in friends with people to a point. I mean, there are definitely people I wouldn't be friends with. Marjorie Taylor Greene has no chance.
We have to go all the way to Marjorie Taylor Greene to draw the line in the sand of people that he wouldn't be friends with. That's scary. I mean, I'm all for like having like friends with conflicting opinions because it makes conversation interesting, not because I want to change them. But like also like there's just like really bad people. You know? Rosie O'Donnell. I love Rosie O'Donnell. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to use Rosie O'Donnell in this scenario. I feel bad.
But I'd probably go to lunch with her, hear her out, mostly to tell the story. This sucks. You know, it really, really does. One, I've just been emotional on screen and I hate that. And part of me wants to go and cut it out, but then I feel like I promised to be honest from the onset. And I feel like if I cut anything else out besides bloopers or whatever, that I will have broken that. Two, I believe that I have adequately shown my side, and it would be ridiculous now for anybody to accuse me of the things that they have been accusing after they watch this, presumably watching all of it. Three, this sucks because I don't see a way forward. I don't see a way where after this video, any chance of reconciliation between Rachel and I seems less likely, because I am basically saying what the narrative that is being pushed about me by Rachel and by others is nonsense.
I don't think it's nonsense as much as it is you aren't listening, and you weren't listening a year ago.
And I don't know how she's going to take that. Again, I don't want anyone to go after her. If she wants to finally have that private conversation, she has my phone number. So when she mentions the blocked everywhere, you can still text me. And you were never blocked there. But I don't know, just so much about this sucks. And so much of it sucks because, again, none of what I do right now is probably going to matter. There's still going to be this huge narrative driven and people aren't going to watch this video and they're not going to give a shit. We're also going to continue choosing villains, and then sometimes those villains are going to play the role.
This just feels so disingenuous because publicly on Twitter, Jimmy was kind of a dick during all of this. He was defensive and rude and, again, told a lot of my friends to fuck off. He also left out the part where at one point Rachel's tweets were incoherent because she was so inebriated. He left out that Creepshow Art was making catty tweets about and to Rachel. And he left out all the people, specifically women, that he told to go fuck themselves that night and then subsequently blocked them, simply for speaking up for Rachel. Again, I don't view the block button as an attack. I view the block button as a joke, but it is a boundary that's set. And that's fine. If you need to block people, go for it. That's absolutely okay.
For things that happen to Gabbie, I'm going to still feel bad for things that happen to Trisha, and Trisha isn't my friend. And Trisha, like I said, even these people who definitely do shitty, sucky things, I feel bad for. I feel like all we're doing right now is this end of it. And, you know, the demands for an apology, regardless of whether or not you actually did it, demands for you to get involved, demands, because our eyes love to consume this and like this reality show stuff. We just love it. It's what drives us. And I think it is so toxic and so shitty. And now I get to say this on the other side of showing you that the things being said about me aren't true. So I feel like, because there's a lot of people where if I put this at the beginning, they're like, yeah, of course he doesn't like that. He's in the hot seat. I'm not anymore. You just saw my receipts.
Okay, you're not like absolved of like any wrongdoing just because you came with receipts, Jimbo Slice. There's a hell of a lot of context that he either is refusing to hear or he's just not paying attention to.
Of course, Gabbie and Rachel both still matter to me.
Gabbie and Rachel still matter. Both of them. So then clearly you're about to take a moment to call out Gabbie for her language in regards to Rachel, right? Because again, there's a person on the other side of that Instagram. who's deeply affected by the language used in a 15-minute tirade. Just feel like that's something we could call out real specifically, you know, like real specifically.
How they feel still matter to me. That they are okay still matters to me. Even though I feel mad, honestly, at mostly Rachel. Again, I don't even know what Gabbie said about me in the heat of the moment. People have said she said stuff. And as far as generally evaluating the actual event between the two of them, I haven't watched enough, though, as I've said already, the only things I know is that I believe Gabbie has called her a bitch.
Bitch. You manipulative, narcissistic bitch. You fucking weird ass bitch. You're a manipulative bitch. You fucking sick, twisted bitch.
I believe she's also used terms that are like clinical psychological terms, which I think people should be very reluctant to do. And I don't think that Rachel's a narcissist. I think that was one of the words. I do think that Rachel's motivations for the reviews and all the Gabbie Hanna content she has done was definitely views, but the motivations for lots of things I do are views.
Maybe. But also maybe Gabbie just sent her the book to be reviewed. And so Rachel did her job, which was reviewing the book that was sent to her by the author.
I don't regret telling somebody like, hey, the thing you're doing right now, I've seen it hurt my friend. And the way you're doing it actually does seem hurtful. Because if it was literally, I had seen something where it's like, Gabbie, she just said she doesn't like your poetry. I don't like your poetry because I don't like any poetry. You just got to get past it. I was literally reacting to something that was rather nasty. Something that just seemed mean-spirited and unkind, all in the sake of promoting this thing.
Oh my God.
Let me just see if there's any notes that I forgot about this. But at the end of the day, I think there is plenty of guilt to go around. I don't have much that I think I care to apologize for, though. Honestly, the only thing there would kind of be is like, Rachel, we had a good enough, I don't see anything in these notes, but we had a good enough friendship that maybe I should have unblocked you sooner and maybe I should have talked to you sooner because I've missed our friendship. I've missed our conversations. I've missed talking, but I also was very hurt. And honestly, it's a betrayal thing. It really is where I'm like, we were having a conversation and you went to have parts of our private conversation on Twitter. And now it's literally like, if Rachel and I ever talk again, I will literally start the conversation with, just to be clear, none of this conversation is going to be happening on social media in some way, correct? None of this is going to be, obviously there's always exceptions. If I did something heinously terrible, of course people should be, I'm not going to ask her to sign an NDA, but we be reasonable. That's, again, me just anticipating stupid criticisms people are going to make because they're like, oh, I'm adding a bunch of context. This just sucks, man. Like, it just sucks. It's not good for anybody, this stuff. And I don't know. Something's probably going to happen. There's going to be something in the future. Gabbie will say something somewhere, and then someone will be like, oh, after what you said in that, what about now, Jimmy? I know. All that's coming in the future. And you know what? Fuck off.
There he is. It's not about choosing to keep Gabbie Hanna as a friend. Do what you gotta do. If she's important to you, you want her in your life, whatever. You do what you gotta do. Just don't be a goddamn hypocrite. Keep the same energy for everybody, especially your friends. You can't hold one friend accountable to something that you refuse to hold another friend accountable for, especially since it's been made public, and since they're both public figures. You can't do that. It's not how it works.
I'm going to do my show. I'm going to do my activism. And I'm going to try and be a good friend to my friends. And that is the only thing I did, was try to be a good friend to my friends.
I do believe that Jimmy believes that. What he did was in the spirit of good friendship. What I also believe is that he doesn't listen when people are telling him the issue at hand. Because if he listened at all, then over the course of the year, he might have clued into why Rachel reacted the way she did.
And if I did it wrong, it wasn't for lack of trying to do it the right way. And I will take correction on the right way to have done it, but not from a bunch of strangers on the internet. I'm going to talk to a therapist.
Someone's hella salty about comments. Well, there are none.
And I've actually already talked to my therapist a lot about this, especially when it happened. I have been in pretty intensive therapy for many years. Most people won't have made it this far. Most people would have just taken out the tidbits and whatever else. So this video will go out after I let some people screen it, and you'll see it. And I can honestly say at the end of it that I believe I kept my promise. Everything I've told you is either the truth or what I am very sure is the truth.
And I believe that Jimmy believes that too. I believe that he was truthful to his experience. But I also believe that there is so much nuance here that is not being addressed. And in fact, it's being disregarded overall.
There was definitely no misinformation purposely given. If somebody has something that I got wrong, you're welcome to point it out.
Just let me disable those comments real quick.
And in the future, if something seems whack that you just can't believe I did it, maybe consider the idea that I didn't and ask. Ask for my side of the story, not because people are like, we did ask. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You demanded that I accept, acknowledge and accept and apologize for things I didn't do. God, this all sucks. All of it. But now you have my side of the story, which none of you actually asked for. There's probably a few people who did. So if you did, thank you. And if you didn't, but still were demanding whatever, kick rocks. I don't know what to tell you. I'm Jimmy Snow. We're going to get back to the normal stuff tomorrow, the day after you see this, I assume. Bye, everyone.
That was fun. No research, no thought, no thanks. This sucks. Anyways, I'll go fuck off then. Thank you so much for watching. Wow, that went far. Let me know your thoughts in the comments about this Jimmy Snow video. There is even a lot that I didn't cover here. I'm exhausted. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please feel free to give it a like. If you didn't like this video, kick rocks. Subscribe. I make new videos whenever I feel like it. We do a live here every Friday night, usually at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. That's 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Other time zones have time at that time too, but I don't know what those times are. All my social media is linked down below. All I ask is that you not be an asshole. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next one.